We're talking about the second in charge of billion-dollar companies. Recently, one of them pulled me aside and said, there's something different about you, and whatever it is, I want it. And I told him, I said, I don't know if you'll ever hire me again, but you asked, so I'm telling you.
This is Church Growth with Vibrant Agency.
I always say that culture is caught. It's not taught. A pastor thinks he's going to get up and preach twice a year about the Great Commission, and people are going to start inviting. I'm not saying don't preach on it. I think you do need to show scripture on it, and you need to preach on it. But if you think you're going to preach twice about it and then put out an invite card and tell everybody bring a friend, they put out invite cards every week and no one brings a friend. Less than 5%. Watch this. Less than 5% of American Christians invited someone to church in the last 12 months. Less than 5%. So if you have a church for every 100 people in church, let's say you got a church of 100. Let's just use that as a round number. 95 of them didn't even invite anybody. Not last week, in the last 12 months. That's why we're not growing. So here's the thing. I always think it's interesting. I recently connected with Steve Furtick, and he was being honest. He goes, I don't know if we're having a lot of kingdom growth, but I think we're having a lot of transfer growth. So some church that blows up, it's like, is it really blowing up with unsaved people? Or is it blowing up because people like your church a little bit better? And that's transfer growth. But it's not kingdom growth. That's not the church inviting the unchurched. That's not me inviting you to come over to my house for a barbecue, hanging out and building a relationship, and ultimately hoping my next door neighbor or you or whoever I work with comes to Christ, or the guy at the gym. That's kingdom growth. And that's the part I battle with in our own campuses. I'm like, guys, are we having kingdom growth, or are we just having transfer growth? Because I want kingdom growth, and that's a different thing. But it's that culture. It's getting that culture. It's getting that 95% that aren't doing anything to say, I'm going to start inviting my friend to Christ. I tell people all the time, man, when you die and go to heaven, you don't get to take anything with you. Money, food, clothes, boats, cars, houses, but you do get to take other people. That's the only thing you get to take.
And your dog. I was thinking about something. I wonder, this is just a random thought, but I feel like it's because a lot of church people only hang out with church people. So who the heck are they going to invite? I was like, oh, sweet. I've invited someone this year. I have a lot of non-Christian friends. So it's easy because they're like, you guys want to hang out tomorrow? No, I'm going to church. You guys should come. We love it. It's interesting. I feel like that's a culture problem. That's totally off subject. I was just thinking that.
I mean, you're probably right. But if you had the culture of, it's a priority to invite somebody, like you felt like proud that you invited somebody to church, it might reinforce that behavior.
And you would kind of search out people that would probably be interested, or even make new friends.
You don't have non-Christian friends. I just don't have friends.
Oh, you have kids. You don't have time for friends.
That's true. That's true. Let me ask you a question. Here's my opinion, and I might be wrong, but I think that there's a crazy trend going on right now, and at least in America, which is everybody who really loves God and grew up in the church. It seems like if they have an entrepreneurial spirit, they plant a church. It's like the thing to do now is to plant a church. And there are tons and tons and tons of 120 member churches, and less and less mega churches that just pop out of nowhere unless you're in Texas. And so I think that this culture of church planning is different than I've seen before. Now I drive down Grand Avenue and there's 4 churches all within 3 miles of each other, and they're all small. And I used to think that's weird, but now I think
in
furniture stores and theaters and everybody's, library on the weekends. But maybe that's a good thing. Maybe those pastors are so hungry to build a congregation that they're more hungry than the pastor who knows that their church has already made it and they're good, but they've got to get this off the ground. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's not a weird thing. What do you think about it?
Well, I do. I think that there's church planning seems to be a heck of a lot more popular, organized, structured, funded. You've got groups like ARC, CMN, all these other different groups that are planning them, and they're doing great jobs planning them. And people seem to be more hungry for that. I think there's an entrepreneurial spirit behind that. I think it's needed because we have a lot of churches shutting down. The year before in 2017, we shut down even more churches. We shut down an average of 300 per Sunday in 2017. So it's astronomical. But I love church planning. I think that, and I think a lot of guys kind of get stuck a little bit. Like you said, we have a whole bunch of churches that are this size. And I don't have a thing against, here's the thing I always say, I don't have a thing against small churches, and I don't have a thing against the pastor that, maybe his capacity isn't as high. I only have a problem when you're not reaching your potential, but I do have a problem if lost people aren't finding Christ. Someone that comes to me and goes, we've been 50 for the last 20 years and we haven't seen someone come to Christ in 10 years. Well, that's a problem. You have a club. I don't know if you have a church, but you got to see lost people come to Christ. Now, capacity wise, come on, watch football, or watch a sport or watch golfing or whatever. Some guys are just like, man, they are born to swing a club, and some are not as much born. That's why I think Jesus taught the principle to one he gave 5, to one he gave 2, to one he gave 1 talent. There's no problem if you're a 3-talent person. It's only a problem if you're living at a 2-talent level. That's the problem. So not everybody's going to be a 5-talent. I mean, give me a break, They're not everybody's going to be that. Some people are 2-talent. Just maximize where you're at and be where you're at. But I do think that a lot of churches are starting. I think it's amazing. I do think that we have the back end that we have to be concerned about. Over the last 4 or 5 years, there's been more churches planted, I think, than ever in a 5-year period in America. It's crazy how many churches are being planted. What I'm interested to see is where will they be 5 to 10 years from now if we don't help them figure out how to round second and get to third.
I love it. Churches hire us for the part of church growth that is the opposite of what you do. You are coaching, inspiration, Taddy. They hire us to do it, like social media campaigns, graphics, all these different things. We have a church we just spoke with yesterday that we're going to be helping them, and they have a very clear goal, which is in 1 year, they want to increase their church by 25% in 1 year. And they're in Florida, and they have that on their heart. They feel like God's put that on their heart. And so they're like, guys, help us to get there. So we're going to put all our tools to work as far as, social media and website and clicks and all that stuff. But we don't have a staff where we can practice things like you do. So let me ask you, we're in a staff meeting right now. South Hills Church has to grow by 25% in the next 12 months. What are you going to, as our leader, what are you going to tell us to do?
Well, it depends on what we're already doing. I don't know the context of what we're already doing, but the areas that if someone presented that to me and I didn't know everything that they were doing, here's the places that I would want to check. Definitely the areas that you guys are experts in, the social media and the website and moving and having your social media platform grow. I think that's an important part, assuming your product is good. Promoting a bad product doesn't make the product better. And if people come on, and so that's why one of our vision statements for everything we do, like Church Boom and South Hills Church and all of it, we want to develop leaders and create irresistible churches. And if your church isn't irresistible, then great on the social media, but you're promoting something that's not working. So if I was going down a checklist, honestly, I would. There's probably 6 or 7 things, so I'm going to give you a few things. Hey, we want to grow this year. Okay, well, first of all, we need to look at the product. What are we doing on Sunday morning? Does it match the demographic? Does it help us reach people that we want to reach? Or are we just really cool for people that are already going to church? Is it kingdom growth or transfer growth? If we want kingdom growth, we got to really think about our demographics. Let's look at our children and what's happening there. Are we targeting them? One of the craziest things that cracks me up is that people don't create a mailing list, not email, a mailing list for children. Create a mailing list for children and start promoting children's program once a month. It'll blow people away. You get an 8-year-old kid who gets a piece of mail. He's going to church that Sunday, whether the parents want to or not. And they will show up. That's one thing. So I would look at the product. I would look at the children's ministry, I would look at targeting 4 or 5 big days. I think that makes it easy for people to invite to. Get a running back from some local university that everybody wants to meet and get him to show up. He can't charge you because he forfeits his scholarship if he does. But he has to do some sort of promo for UCLA or whatever it is. Believe me, we do it all the time, and then we don't have to pay anything for it. But you do a big day and you give your people an easy way to invite, an easy way to win. And that's an important thing, that you create that. Combined inside of that is the invite culture, which isn't going to change in a few months. It'll change in several months, but I don't know if it's going to change in 12 months. It takes a while to change culture. It's like redirecting a river. So those are some of the things: the product, the children, some of the big days. Invite culture, I think, is a constant thing that you're looking at. One of the other things is that I would look at is increasing the frequency of your people's attendance to give your people a sense of momentum. In other words, people always say, boy, if everybody showed up to our church at one time, we'd have 500 people. I hear that like every day of my life. Well, what you're really saying is you're averaging 300, but you think you have 500. And that's because you got people that come to church once every 6 weeks, once every 4 weeks, once every 3 weeks. What if you put a strategy together to just increase frequency? So people that were coming once every 6 started coming once every 4. And people that were coming once every 4 came twice a month. If you do that, your church will grow, maybe not from the overall adherence number, but the momentum, the amount of people in the room will pick up, and people will look around going, man, we're growing. And nothing wins like momentum. But you can create a sense of momentum by clearly and creatively increasing the frequency. So when I go and talk to people, as I talked to several pastors this morning, I talked about increasing frequency. So those are some of the things that I would quickly start looking at. And then the last thing is I would look at is that strategy. If they say, man, we don't have boxes and batons and all that. Okay, let's forget boxes and batons. How can you quickly get people to go from Sunday morning into involved in your church to even at a low level? Did you know that the chance of keeping a person in your church increases by 500%? That's astronomical, man. 500% if they'll just start being an usher once a month. So what if you figured out a faster way to get people to go from Sunday morning? So it's like, okay, let's go to Sunday morning. They stop by some little bar table area where they meet a couple of the leaders, and then they go to a once a month luncheon where they meet the pastor and learn a little about the church, and within an hour get signed up to be an usher, greeter, or something once a month. If you get 1 foot, not both feet, but 1 foot of their life into the cement of your church, you have a 500 times more chance of keeping them. If you do some of these things, you'll see growth.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I like that.
Awesome.
Chris, your latest book, can you tell us about it? What was your vision behind it? What are some of the key things, and why should people pick it up?
The latest book is Quit Church. Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah.
Okay. Quit Church. Yeah, most people get thrown off by the title. It came out June, so 7 months ago, and man, I got to tell you, it was hilarious, man. It came out, and man, within 45 days, I don't even know. I did so many radio interviews. Fox News got a hold of us and wanted us to run an op-ed, which is like 1,000-word, kind of article on the book. We wrote it. Nothing happened. 2 weeks later, I woke up on a Saturday morning, and we had 14,000 emails by Saturday morning, 8 a.m. 14,000 emails and comments came in because they ran an op-ed online. Then they ran another one, and then another one, and then another one. They kept calling us, and they were telling, it was crazy. On Reddit, it was trending number 1. On Amazon, it was trending number 2. On iTunes, it was trending number 1. It started going nuts. And then they wanted an interview. So then we went into the studio of Fox News and Friends, which was seen by 32 million people. That went nuts. But the whole concept, it was crazy. But the concept behind quitting church, the reason is everybody got nutsos about it. And this is what Fox News does. They put on their American pastor wants you to quit church. So that got everybody all riled up.
Right.
Of course, the encouraging believers across the nation had nothing but kind words to say about me. And so but the bottom line is it's not about quitting church, obviously. It's about quitting our approach towards church. We approach the promises of God and the things of God inside of a church family so casually. Less than 15% on average tithe, less than 5% invite someone. And there's 3,000 promises in the Bible, and we just leave too many of them on the table. It's kind of like, I'll take this one and that one, but what about all 3,000 of them that were offered to you by God? And we leave too many on the table. And kind of the theme behind Quit Church is this: if you go all in, God will go all out. You just got to go all in. So quit just kind of doing church the way you normally do it. Quit just kind of showing up. Go all in and watch what God will do for your life.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome. That's
I really like that.
Cool.
Well, I appreciate you, Chris. And, if our viewers or listeners want to learn more about you, they want to get some coaching, they want to connect with you, where should we direct them?
Yeah, coaching or anything like that would just go to churchboom.org. And I will say this to pastors, if I could, on the Quit Church thing, we created a site, quitchurch.com. If you go there as a pastor, you will find everything you need to create and make it an entire 6-week campaign in your church. So it's 6 different habits of a church in the book, about giving, serving, all that. But then on the totally free on the website, you can get 6 videos that are video curriculum for small groups. You can get 6 sermon outlines. You can get all the graphics you need. You can get everything you need to make Quit Church an actual series in your church. Man, pastors are reporting the amount of giving, the attendance, the amount of volunteers that are getting involved as a result. So free. Go to quitchurch.com. It's absolutely free.
I'm going to start asking all of our guests this before we let them go. Number one, what is your favorite thing you're listening to on your phone right now?
Music or podcasts?
Yep. Music.
That's ESPN radio.
Music. Eagles radio.
Eagles radio. That's great.
I like anything Eagles radio or anything U2 radio. But if we're talking about, some leadership type stuff, I am a reader. I'm mainly a reader. I do a ton of reading. I love Malcolm Gladwell. I love Simon Sinek. I love Patrick Lenciani. I love anything John Maxwell's touches or breathes. I think that the guy still is the Obi-Wan of leadership. Those are just some of the ones that I love reading.
Do you read any business books?
I'm sorry, who?
Do you read any business books or blogs?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I love, like I said, Simon Sinek. I like Malcolm Gladwell. Business-wise, I really like Darren Hardy. I think that some of the stuff that he does is really, really good. I'm a big fan of his stuff, Darren Hardy. His book, Compound Effect, all the stuff he writes, it's really good.
Chris,
but,
man,
I do speak a lot, by the way, for businesses. I'm sorry.
So you said, yeah.
I'm sorry?
That's what you said at the beginning. You were in New York for that Yankees game because you were speaking at a business conference, right?
That's awesome.
Yeah, I do. I speak for Verizon a lot. Verizon, Home Depot. I do a lot of motivational speaking for conferences. Like I said, Verizon, Home Depot, Best Buy, Hilton Hotels, whatever, things like that. And then, so I don't do a ton of it. I don't even advertise at all. Like I have no website for it. People just call me or whatever, and it's not a lot, but I do quite a bit. I really love keeping my hands somewhat in the business world. I think it sharpens me, and I think it allows. I don't think you have to say the name of Jesus when you're in front of 10,000 workers at Verizon. I think that you can. They don't want you to talk about it, but you can silence his name, but you can't silence his presence. And I've had some amazing conversations with people. I won't name their name because I wouldn't want to reveal that, but secular people that are vice presidents of either Verizon or Home Depot, major people that pulled me aside in their offices privately. We're talking about the second in charge of billion-dollar companies. Recently, one of them pulled me aside and said, "There's something different about you, and whatever it is, I want it." And I told him, I said, "I don't know if you'll ever hire me again, but you asked, so I'm telling you." And I shared with him for 20 minutes about Jesus, and it was amazing. And I love having that
awesome.
opportunity as a pastor to do that.
That is a blessing.
Blessing.
I hope we can have you again. You are a
Yeah.
Little
wealth of knowledge.
Yes.